Hey everybody, JJ here. Back again for another Wednesday Zoom networking. I'm really excited about today's call. The young man we have speaking is just one heck of a nice guy. He's busy as all of us are. Um, he's out of Pace Warmy Sub 2 community. And if you've been on my calls before, you've heard me talk about Pace. Pace is the premier genius in real estate and finance in the country, which means the world. And his Sub 2 community is by far unparalleled, the best real estate education platform in the country today. The young man started as a student, became an entrepreneur, is a father, family man, business owner, successful real estate investor. My good friend, Mr. Shad Nojoumi. How are you, Shad?
Hey JJ, what's up, brother? I'm happy to be here.
Oh man, it's a pleasure to have you on. I've been wanting to get you on the books for a while now, and you're so busy. So it's just a pleasure to have you here. Hey, really quick before we get going, what part of the country are you located in? For those that don't know you.
I just moved to Phoenix earlier in the year, so about 10 months ago. My wife Nancy
Cool.
here to Phoenix to be closer to the real estate mecca.
The activity, yeah.
Yeah,
Where were you before Phoenix?
Dallas. I was in Dallas,
That's
Texas.
another good market.
Yeah.
That's another good market. Hey, I want to get into your topic today, but I want to talk about you really. We all get started in real estate a different way. Some of us, because mom is an agent, dad's a contractor, we're raised around it. And some of us aren't. At 16, we're driving a car. At 18, we're voting. At 21, we can go and do a restaurant and order a beer or a glass of wine. For those developmental years, from your teens into your early 20s, was real estate even on the landscape for you? And if not, what were you doing, say, from your teens and your 20s? What were you up to?
No, real estate was not on my radar. I really didn't give it any thought. I wasn't really around anybody that was doing real estate at any serious level. My family back then was in the hospitality industry, so bars and restaurants, things like that. And that's what I learned, and that's what I did in my teens and for basically half of my 20s.
Very cool. So you were in hospitality, and now you're a real estate entrepreneur. But real estate's not your first entrepreneurial platform, is it?
No, no, it's
I
not.
mean, you were a business owner at a very young age, right?
Yeah, so I started at a bar and restaurant with my brother's help in Fort Collins, Colorado. I started a bar restaurant called The Avenue. And I did that for about 3.5 years. It was very successful. I had a great time doing it. I learned a ton about entrepreneurship and just life, and I mean, so many things. I grew up quite a bit in those years.
Now, you did hospitality for quite a bit. Now you're in real estate. Where was that transition? Maybe how long ago, and at what point in time with your activity in hospitality in the restaurant business, when did real estate come on the landscape for you, and what was that transition like?
Not for a while, actually. So I did the restaurant and bar thing. I exited that, ended up going to Dallas and had a baby. Had a child, and my daughter was just born. And one of my relatives came and visited me there in Dallas and said that, hey, I got a job at this place called GoDaddy, and GoDaddy wasn't like a huge deal back then. It was on the rise. It wasn't quite a household name yet. And he's like, hey, making good money and I'm learning a lot about technology and marketing and all kinds of cool stuff. You should come check it out. And I was like, no, I don't really think that's for me. I'm from the hospitality industry and I'm like more hands-on. I don't know anything about computers. I don't know anything about the internet or technology. So I don't think I'd be a good fit. And after a few months, he convinced me to come. Hey, just come out to Scottsdale. Just come check it out. I mean, what do you have to lose? You got a baby, and you got to think about her future. And I know you're going to do really well because you're an entrepreneur. So long story short, I come out, I check it out, end up faking it till I make it. They gave me all the answers to the interview. I get a job at GoDaddy. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know how to check my email for the job interview when they sent it to me. So Ended up getting a job at GoDaddy, and there I met somebody. His name is Edgar, and we became really good friends. And that through a mutual friend. So he knows Carlos
Okay.
Reyes and Sal Shakir, which are pretty big names in the industry.
Yeah.
And I worked for GoDaddy for about 6 years. We exited and started a company, a startup, and that's where we had started to learn about like Carlos. And that was the first glimpse of real estate investing that I had ever kind of seen. Was like those guys were getting into their business and starting their real estate business the same time I was exiting GoDaddy and starting my own software as a service startup.
That's pretty cool. Now, when you got into real estate, was that due to people that you met Carlos? Did they open the door for you in real estate, or because they were in it, you just became aware of it?
No, I actually stiff armed it. I was like, well, real estate, that's cool. I wanted to do this technology thing now that, I had learned GoDaddy. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years later, Edgar ended up setting up a meeting with Carlos because I was doing import export and the SaaS and all that. They wanted to have him
Wow.
about what we were doing, and we ended up going downtown Phoenix. We went to their office, and I'm like, man, these guys have a nice office. They're driving like Rolls Royce and Lamborghinis, and I mean, they're crushing it. They're making so much money. That was when I finally realized, like, hey, maybe this real estate thing is something. I should look into it a little bit more.
Yeah, most definitely. Um, Boy, getting a start like that or getting introduced to visible people, successful people is always a benefit. Um, so as you got into that, like you and I have met through Sub Two. Uh, Having Carlos introduce you and turn on the light bulb, what was your path into Sub Two? Was it YouTube University? How did you come to meet Pace?
Well, ironically, you would think that would be enough for me to jump in headfirst into real estate. Seeing a couple guys that and seeing them come up. But as fate would have it, I ended up moving back to Dallas, and I didn't do real estate for another 3 years. So I went to Dallas. I was working at my family's car dealership, and I don't know, some things happened, and I was just like, I don't really want to be a used car salesman my whole life. So I started watching YouTube University, and I found Steve Trang, and I was watching a bunch of his videos.
Another popular name
Yeah. So
for those
then,
for those that don't know. Yeah.
yeah, Steve's great. I mean, if you guys don't know Steve Trang, you should definitely check him out. That's how I found Pace. Pace was on his podcast, and they were just talking, and then I'm like, man, there's something different about this guy. I like this guy a lot. So I looked him up on YouTube, found another Steve Trang interview that Pace did with him, and that's when he was talking about Sub Two. He had just started getting Sub Two going, and I was like, man, I like this guy. And so we started looking into Sub Two, and that's how we got introduced to Pace, and then really went. That's when we went headfirst into real estate at that point.
Now, let me ask you about your start. We probably got a couple of new investors on the call with us now. Probably have a couple of new investors watching on YouTube. When I started with Sub Two, which is 2 years ago, it was 1,200 people then, it's 12,000 now. They were talking about, a number of titles. This is before the avatar even come up, but they're talking about acquisitions manager, dispositions manager, transaction coordinator, integrator, visionary. In the beginning, when it's just us, we're wearing all these hats ourselves. Now, I imagine when you started, you weren't wearing all the hats, but did you have a particular goal or avenue, or was one of these things look like it was the path for you? And of course, when we start, it's not always where we end up, but
Right.
how did when the fire hose of information hit you and all the options, how did you sort out what you wanted to start with? And we'll start with that.
So that's a great question because that's exactly what happened. My plan getting into the business was to basically set up a conveyor belt for lead generation and get our leads flowing, right? And then I figured like within 3 months or so, I should have everything set up because I had a lot of experience with outsourcing talent and working with a call center, working at a call center, and all. I just figured this should be right up my alley because I have experience with it. And sure enough, got rolling in the business and realized very quickly I have more questions every day, and I'm not finding answers easily. right? Where to hire the best talent, how to train them, what script to use, what list to pull, what company to skip trace with, how to manage these guys, what dialer to use. I mean, there was just so many questions that I got bogged down in it. And sure enough, 3 or 4 months came and went, and I was still working on setting up a CRM and data and this and that and all this other stuff. And these VAs were unreliable. They kept quitting and not showing up,
Yep.
or we have to fire them or whatever. And it was just horrible. So at that time, to your point, there was a lot of talk about, are you an integrator or are you a visionary, right? It was rocket fuel. If anybody has not read that book, I highly recommend it. And you take the test, the crystallizer test, and then you kind of determine if you want to be a integrator or a visionary. And back then, I mean, there was only like 1,000 people, to your point, in sub two. It was the vast majority was visionaries,
Yeah.
people that wanted to do the sales side of it, and very few people to do the integrator side. So just my entrepreneurial spirit kicked in, and I'm like, man, there's all these people that are saying, hey, let JV with me, send me your deal, and we can go 50-50 and I'll lock it up. And then, but nobody was saying like, hey, let me handle the nuts and bolts of the business. And then you could, follow up with the lead and lock it up. So we saw this massive opportunity for somebody to come in and really square that away and figure a lot of those things out and streamline things, create systems and processes around it, then just make it automatic. And that's basically what we did. We started REI Conveyor Belt, and that was our mission, was to systemize and organize lead gen, the data, the
Wow.
team, the management. I mean, you name it.
And that is so huge. That's so huge. We talked a little, you now have a website and you got it behind you there on the screen, jvwithshad.com. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. That's just the easiest way I found for people to connect, because with the conveyor belt that Nancy and I have been working on for a few years now, going on 3 years, we have different brands and different companies that are kind of dedicated to, different parts of it. So the parent company is REI Conveyor Belt, and then these are all the different links to join different things that we have. Like if people need acquisitions help or dispo, or I started a YouTube channel, a little while ago.
And this
Um,
one here, this dark blue one is
yeah,
your REI conveyor belt.
yeah, that's kind of the umbrella, if you will, right? That's basically the thing that powers our vision of how to streamline and simplify real estate investing for a lot of people. So
So
yeah.
now I see a number of logos here. Tell us about the logos and some of these things here.
That's just the problem that I have. I have an addiction to create companies and vertically integrate them with one another. And that's basically, those are like different departments, if you will, with different departments within a properly run conveyor belt. And the vision that we had was people could either partner with us as a whole, and we'll do the lead gen and manage everything that you see on the screen here, or they can just, if they just need one piece or part of it, then they can just get it a la carte, what they
Yeah,
need.
this is really impressive.
Thank
This is
you.
really impressive. What you've put together is amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. You know, I wanted to, jump in and touch on our topic today, which is AI, artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
um, integration, and cold calling. Um, let's jump into the topic, but where do you want to start?
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying the stuff we're working on is nowhere complete, because technology is changing things very quickly. And the big buzz right now for all of 2023 really has been AI, right? It's phenomenal what's happening. In my opinion, it's phenomenal. I know some people are kind of worried about it, but I really think that it's going to help, especially us as business owners, quite a bit. So I have a big passion for it. I love to look forward and disrupt and see how we can improve things and make things better. So there's a couple of different AI things that I'm interested in and I've been working on. One of them, if we have time, I'll share it with you guys, which is voice AI. So cold calling, basically AI that can be done, which we're not too far away from. It's going to get really impressive really quickly here with that.
Wow.
I have a sample call that I did with the AI. I'll play that if you guys are interested. Another thing that I've seen in our industry that's been really challenging for people is to get a firm handle and look at a deal in the proper light, right? So underwriting and comping takes quite a bit of time for most investors, right? And it really bogs down acquisitions teams, dispositions teams, and investors, right? If you're a private money investor or a private money partner, before you go investing your money, you want to know what the deal looks like. And is this a good bet? Is it not? All that. Well, like I mentioned, at every part of it, before you acquire the property, as you're disposing the property or you're lending on the property, you have to get a firm handle on it. And it's just I see a massive opportunity there because it takes too long to properly do it and get a 360 view. So we've been building a platform, and I'll be happy to share that with you guys if my computer cooperates. And our goal there is basically to take hours of research and condense it down to minutes as opposed to hours. So that way, us as investors, regardless of which part of the conveyor belt you need it for, you can actually get the data that you need and look at a deal properly.
Shad, did you want to share your screen with a couple of those things that you wanted to share with us, or how did you want to address that AI cold call or the other item that you mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So, full disclosure, I have like a super computer with like 6 screens, and my computer basically, it bonked out on me last week. So I bought a new one. It's on the way. I'm using my wife's computer, and this thing can't keep up. So I'm going to try to share my screen and share some of this stuff with you guys. All right, so this is research.com, basically what my team and I have been working on for a couple of months now. And the basic idea behind this is for us as investors to get a really solid look at a property, we need to look at it from a 360-degree angle, right? And to me, what that means is we're looking at sold comps, right? There's a bunch of products out there where we can find sold comps. But we also need to look at pending and active listings as well. And then that'll give you a good idea of what your after repair value would be, right? But what if it's a buy and hold, right? And that's not the only exit. Like not every property is going to be a flip. So the idea that we have is, okay, we'll get all of our fix and flip numbers and we can do that. But what about short-term, midterm, long-term, affordable housing? What about all these other exits that properties could have and be a part of, right? So we have this data here, and as you guys can see, it's basically we have it set up to where it finds all the sold comps. Here's some pendings and some actives and even some reference points. But beyond that, what I'm building here is the ability for it to go and find midterm rental stuff, like from pad split, furnished finder, stuff like that, and then be able to get ideas of what rents are going for a midterm rental. Here's long-term rental, and again, this is all in the development phases, so probably shouldn't even be showing it yet. It's nowhere near to be ready, but this gives us an idea of like what actual live listing rentals are going for in the area. So if you wanted to hold the property, what could you get as a long-term rental? Well, I mean, here's going to be the actual rentals that come up there. And then also affordable housing. So if you wanted to make it like Section 8 or affordable housing, like what would the rents go for? Right now, we're at the data aggregation phase of it. We're going to layer on a lot more cool stuff once data comes in. We're also getting data such as like price history, population growth in that particular area, demographic data, like how many men and women, age, all those different things. We're going to be layering in like crime data and all kinds of other stuff. And that when all that data comes together, that we can take that data, synthesize it, and then feed it into machine learning algorithms that will then make it truly AI, right?
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, it's far from being complete, but here's the problem that I saw that we're looking to solve is when you're looking at a deal right now as investors, what ends up happening is I'm looking at this house. This is my subject property. Here's my comp. Here's a comp. Here's a comp. You're only looking at these two things, like you're singularly focused on those two things, right? But what about all the other properties, in that area, right? In that subdivision or in that block or even on that street, right? And the more data that comes in, the thing that AI is really good at is synthesizing data and digesting it in a meaningful way where us as humans, we get lost in the shuffle, right? We get lost in the sauce really quickly. So what we're on a mission to do is like give data on what is the entire subdivision, right? What's the average of not just your 2 or 3 comps, in your area, but the subdivision or that street, right? Like what if the house you're looking at is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but most of the houses on that street are 4-bedroom, 3-bath? Instead of beating up the seller, what if you realize like, oh, I could actually increase the value of this home by $90,000 by just adding a bedroom and a bath, and that would only cost me 30 grand, right? We would look at real estate in a whole different way if we found other opportunities that we're not looking at by just comparing sold comps, recent comps. That's kind of the idea that, of this.
David Huang, you are on with Shad. What's your question?
Shad, I think what you're doing is amazing. You definitely have to have an offline conversation about this. But I know it's still in the beta stage of what you're doing. But I know as a gator myself, any thoughts about like introducing wraps, which I think are a very popular thing in sub 2 as an exit strategy, and also maybe incorporating metrics within from the lending perspective, so that again we can kind of see if this is a good deal to lend on at this point.
Great question. Absolutely. So what I just shared is the infant stages of the vision that we have for it. That was basically just data aggregated. Like none of what I shared, in my opinion, is AI. None of that was AI. Like I think that term gets thrown around a little too loosely these days. It's the fad, it's the bubble. We're at the stage of just aggregating data and bringing it, onto the platform. That way we can incorporate machine learning algorithms that will then be able to make computations. Like, so real quick example, us as humans, when we look at our ARV comps, recently sold comps, the odds of us having a perfectly matched square footage property and lot size property is very low, right? Your property is going to be different. We're going to be able to calculate. It automatically has it where it'll calculate the price per square foot difference for the property and the lot, and then plug that into the math, into the algorithm for it. And that's just the easiest kind of like lowest hanging fruit. But from there, we can really start to layer on more and more sophisticated algorithms to do more and more computations from there. And as it gains adoption and we teach it more and more, and there's more users and feedback, the machine learning algorithms will get better, and we can do a lot more to help investors like yourself be able to digest the deal and really have a report that it'll basically run everything and then create a report, and then acquisitions can look at it, dispo can look at it, lenders can look at it, and we're all looking at the same thing. And if you disagree, you can just point to that part of the report and say, hey, I checked this, I did a deeper dive, I disagree with this or whatever, but we're all on the same page at least. Yep. And we're all having the same conversation at least. So
yeah. No, because I'm in the same mindset, because when I learned from my mentor in terms of how he underwrote the deals, it would take anywhere from like 30 minutes to an hour on each deal. Yeah. And he would go on Privy and painstakingly look at the comps and look at the pictures. And I'm thinking in my mind, with the technology that we have, there's got to be a more efficient way to handle this. Because at a certain point, he got burnt out because he was doing anywhere from like, I guess, 5 to like 10 deals a month.
Right.
Like a lot of deals to underwrite, and not all of them are going to fund. So it's just like, I kind of wonder, like, there's got to be a smarter way of doing this.
And that brings up such a great point. That's literally what we're looking to solve, because your mentor, that he's just one part of the puzzle, like, and he's at the end of the trough. So that same brain damage that was happened for acquisitions, it happened for dispositions to get to him. So 3 different sets of people minimum had to go through that hour worth of research to do it properly, of course, right? I mean, I know people will go out there and they're like, oh, I can underwrite something in like 2 minutes. Yeah, but not really. Like, you know, it to do it right and to look at a deal. And kind of the idea came about, I started to ask myself, why is it that Pace Morby can do 1,000 deals, right? You put deals in front of him and he can make a deal out of it where other people couldn't. And one of the things, aside from him being a genius and phenomenal salesperson, he can look at a deal 17 different ways and figure out a way to make money out of it, where a newer investor just doesn't know how to look at a deal as a midterm rental, long-term rental, maybe affordable housing, maybe like those exit strategies are everything.
Yeah.
And that kind of got my wheels turning on, okay, well, how can we speed up the process of comping and then tie in calculators and all the other sophistications to it? My plan for this thing, and I think whether we do it and we're successful, somebody will do this, right? This is just going to happen inevitably for real estate investors in the real estate investment industry. I'll give a really quick example of another thing where AI could help, right? When we have all this data and it's being synthesized and there's machine learning algorithms and they're doing all these computations that humans just can't do, you might be looking at a property and it's only 2 miles away from a stadium, and the AI might know that, hey, that stadium has 8 home games and there's 70,000 people that come in there every, on these schedules. There's 32 concerts. There's, the Monsters, there's all these things that are happening. And plus there's a hospital, there's a this, there's a that around it. And it can start to take that data in and then start to feed out into, hey, your deal doesn't work as a fix and flip, right? Like, I mean, the numbers just look horrible, but you could turn this into a midterm rental for nurses because this hospital it's overpopulated constantly. And they're like bringing it. I'm just making up examples right now. We're not there yet, but once that foundation gets poured nice and strong and data starts coming into it, that's what AI is truly great at, where humans, we're just not designed to do any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love the aspect that AI and machine learning will do a lot of the heavy lifting. And again, of course, there still needs to be a human element to kind of make the final decision. But at least if like 80 to 90% of the grunt work of the underwriting is done, it just makes the investor's life a lot easier, the lender's life a lot easier in terms of making sure we have the right information to make that right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we're going to be working on as it just progresses is making printable reports. So as you run the report, you're looking at the things, and then when you want to send it off for dispo or for the investor, it can literally print out a PDF of, not just the property, not just the comps, but all the exits, and then the neighborhood, the schools, the crime, the demographic, like all this other background information. So how this kind of came about, just real quick, I went to Miami in December for Grant Cardone's thing. And there I learned about CoStar. And Grant Cardone had great questions because people would raise their hand like, hey, I got a deal here, I got a deal there. And first thing he'd say is, okay, cool. What's the demographic over there, right? What's the average income? What's the crime rate? Who are the top people in there? And all the questions that he would ask, people would be like, I don't know. It was always, I don't know. And then he talked about how he spends $200,000 a year with CoStar so that they do know before they go invest. And that got my light bulb off. And I'm like, well, there's just as much money in single family as there is multifamily, right? 100 door complex might cost $50 million, but if you total up the properties around that, you're going to get to the same $50 million, $100 million very quickly and easily. But why don't we know all of these questions that are being asked for multifamily, right? Like, who's the top employer? Who's what's the growth rate there? What's this, that, all these questions. That's what led to us starting to think about, how do we do that for single family and for our industry, for this portion of the industry.
Yeah, I look forward to having an offline conversation with you to learn more. Thank you.
Absolutely. I love to. I geek out on this. I just went on a bit of a rant. Sorry, JJ.
You're good. No, you're good. I was going to say, David, thank you so much for joining us. Let's make sure you could touch base with Shad. You're both great guys. There's a lot of value here, and I think, it'd be good for you guys to catch up. Graham Norris, you are on with Shad. What's your question?
Fantastic. Well, it's a real honor to be on with the call with you guys, and thank you for bringing this amazing subject up. I've been following it too, AI, and it can go one of two ways. And um, I know. What do you think about the legislation side of it? I mean, the governments are always poking in, and I would imagine if a robot was on a call making 100x more than a human cold caller can, that they'll do something about that. Which is a shame because it would filter down those who are interested in selling. So, how do you envisage a robotic call center working using AI?
I think that legislation is always behind technology. I mean, you look at Bitcoin and all these altcoins, they're still having a hard time regulating it, and that's been out for over a decade. Um, with AI, I know they're going to want to regulate it, but we'll see how that goes. So I don't have an opinion on the regulation side of things. I do have a strong opinion on it's here and it's here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. I'll play a demo of a call that I did with voice AI. So we're already working on it.
Yeah.
I see a future in the next year, 2 years. I'm not sure when. Even if they outlaw and we can't use AI to make outbound calls, I know that we could, once we get consent from them, we can do the follow-up calls, we can do customer support calls. There's a lot of other things that we will be able to do. And it's going to happen whether we love it or hate it or how we feel about it. The future is coming at us, and it's coming at us quickly. I'll play, if you guys want to hear it, I'll play.
I'd love to. I'd love to hear it. Yeah. Let's hear it. Yeah.
All right. JJ, you want me to go ahead and play
Yeah. Go right ahead, brother. Go right ahead. I'm going to just...
I'll just preface this by saying, this is obviously at the very beginning of everything. And also, I gave the AI a hard time deliberately. I tried to be like a real seller and give it a hard time. But here's...
Hey there. Is this Shad? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
This is Stacy. I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment.
Yeah. With what, Stacy? What do you want?
Awesome, Shad. I wanted to know if you were at all open to selling your property at 439 Mallory Circle or possibly interested in a cash offer.
What's your offer?
I'd love to give you an offer, but I just need to gather a little more info on property so I can send it off to my team so they can underwrite it first. Is that all right with you?
Yeah. How long will this call take?
I appreciate your time, Shad. I'll try to keep it brief. I just have a few questions about the property. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I just want to get the offer. Like, if you guys are serious, then what's your offer?
Absolutely, Shad. I understand you're eager to know the offer. Let me explain how it works. I'm working with a private investor who buys properties in the Mesa area. They offer all cash as is and cover all closing costs. Before I can give you an exact offer, I just need to ask a few questions about the property. Is that all right with you?
Sure. What questions do you have?
Great, Shad. I appreciate your cooperation. First off, what has you thinking about selling the property?
If I got my asking price, then I would sell it.
I understand, Shad. Getting your asking price is important. Now, how much do you want to walk away with from the sale?
300,000.
Got it, Shad. The 300,000 is the amount you want to walk away with. Have you run your numbers and considered any expenses or fees associated with the sale?
Yeah, I want 300,000 to walk away with. That's what you asked. That's what I want.
I apologize if I wasn't clear, Shad. I meant to ask if you have considered any expenses or fees that might be involved in the sale, such as closing costs or repairs. It's important to have a clear understanding of the potential costs. Could you please share if you've taken those into account?
What fees? What costs? What are you talking about? My house is in perfect condition.
I apologize for any confusion, Shad. I understand that your house is in perfect condition. What I meant to ask is if, hypothetically, there were any expenses or fees that you would need to consider in order to sell the property. It's just a general question to understand your situation better. So, with its current condition, how low could you go in terms of the selling price?
300,000. That's the minimum I'll take for it. I can cut it short here.
I appreciate you clarifying that, Shad. 300,000 is the minimum you would take for the property. Thank you for providing all the...
Oh, that's cool. So
That's crazy.
It goes on for a couple more minutes and then verifies the address, verifies the phone number, all that, and then, basically sends the call up. So
Now,
It is incredible how real it sounds. It's like wild.
now,
Yeah.
let me ask you something. That was your AI talking to a real person?
Well, that was me. I was like, that was me being the seller, and then that was AI. And this is
Okay.
just in the infant stages. I would compare this because we've trained I don't know how many VAs and people at this point, but I would equate this to like a foreign cold caller that is maybe week 1 or 2 on the job, right? That's the level of the level that it's at today. But in the coming weeks and months, and definitely within the next year to 2 years, I think that the response times will get better. Right now, the machine learning algorithms, the AI is being taught. The model, they call it the model, is being taught. So what makes ChatGPT so valuable is they spent 10 years feeding it information and data, right? That's why it's so smart, because it knows all the law books, it knows all these medical books, it knows all this different stuff that's been fed. Well, that's what's happening right now with voice AI, and it's only going to get better, faster, smarter, and just have phenomenal conversations, better than humans, in my opinion, in let's say a few years from now, because it'll start to be able to detect tonality and if you're getting frustrated or you're a personality type or I mean it's just going to be it's
Unbelievable. Yeah.
literally unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, years ago, I remember, you hear about, for those of us that are older, you know, we have these sci-fi movies of things that are going to happen in the future, Star Trek and cell phones and things of that nature. It's crazy. And, what AI can do. I mean, they're talking about this in the U.S. Senate and Congress, and there's apprehension about, some apprehension because nobody knows what it can do yet. And the possibilities are unlimited. Cynthia Ware, you are on with Shad. What's your question?
Thank you for your content, your knowledge, your wealth of knowledge. But I don't know if you actually stated, I got actually 2 questions. What was your first deal and when did you do it? And then the second question is, are you working with a team? And if you are, how did you put your team together? That's just challenging to me, is getting together with a team somewhere to move more leveled up, aggressive, doing real estate, opposed to staying solo, moving so slow, trying to get it done. Just like that whole thing you're saying, underwriting. You know what I'm saying? That's just one hat. The other hat is acquisition. The other hat is dispo. How did you put that package together to be able to move?
Great question. So it took me and my wife 8 months. It was about 8 months to get our first deal in the business. We had several things cooking. It looked great. We ended up quitting our jobs prematurely because we thought we had this $45,000 deal ready to go. We had earnest money from the buyer. Everything was lined up. That fell through, and then a couple other things fell through. And we were deflated. It took another 3 or 4 months for us to get that deal. So 8 months in total. And during that whole process, some of the feelings that you might be having now, we felt those. And to be honest, I mean, we're still feeling some of them, because there's so many moving pieces and parts to the real estate to really have a well-oiled machine. What we realized was wherever your conveyor belt breaks is where your deals fall apart, right? So if you don't have leads, then, I mean, you're getting off to a rough start. If you don't have good acquisitions, then that makes it tough. If you don't have dispo, you could have a great deal, but if you're not getting in front of the right people, then you can't move it, right? TC, underwriting. I mean, there's all these moving pieces. And that was really where the vision and what we've been working on for 3 years is trying to build that so that people can tap into it and make it doable, right? And that's really the vision behind REI Conveyor Belt, and that's why we did it, was put the teams and the tools together as our philosophy so that people can tie into it. And that's really in a nutshell our vision. If you guys watch my YouTube channel, I talk about McDonald's a lot. I have admiration for McDonald's Corporation and the way they've structured their business and really revolutionized their industry, right? They invented fast food, the speedy system, all that. And the analogy I use is if JJ and I and you, Cynthia, we try to go make a burger joint, the odds are we fail, right? Statistically saying within 5 years, we'll be out of business. But if the three of us went and we pooled our money and we bought a McDonald's franchise, it's almost impossible for us to fail. So why is that? Why is it that if you buy a McDonald's, you're not going to fail? It's because of the machine that they have behind you, right? They have teams dedicated to just the potatoes and the French fries and making sure that's perfect and they never run out and it's consistent and it's just right. They know more about French fries than anybody else in the world. Same thing for their beef, same thing for their paper products, same thing for their marketing. They have teams dedicated to specific topics where if the three of us did it, we'd be wearing 85 different hats each trying to juggle this thing, and we'd never be as efficient or effective as they are. And that's really what we're on a mission to do is we're trying to build the McDonald's of real estate. It's funny because McDonald's is in the real estate business. So we figured, all right, if we're in the real estate business, why don't we get into, into what they do?
So we talked about you being an integrator and integration, that being one of the avatars or one of the initial 5 or 6 points. So AI really fits in the integration aspect is what we're getting at. Is that correct?
I think so, but I think AI will branch out into acquisitions, dispositions, because that we can feed calls and scripts to our AI that we're building into our CRM right now to make dispo calls. Hey JJ, I noticed you bought a property recently and blah blah blah. They're in LA. Just wanted to see if you're still interested in picking up more properties. The AI could be trained to say anything, right? It can do any of the different roles. It can do lead follow. It's just going to take a little bit of time for it to get sophisticated. But I think that integrations. I mean, I label myself as an integrator, and I think it spills over into pretty much every department.
And as I kind of see it, and your previous statement was right on board. Integration falls into everything. You can create a system and computer systems and integration for everything. So as there is someone who's heading up acquisition or someone who's heading up disposition or someone who's a transaction coordinator, integration is bringing in computers, systems, and technology to automate these historic older departments, acquisitions and disposition for some simplicity and flow and procedure, right?
Yeah, to alleviate bottlenecks and create more of a fluid conveyor belt, right? I mean, just have it nice and go through the systems and the checkpoints that it needs to go to in an orderly fashion.
It's amazing. So we talked about AI integration and cold calling, how AI is really going to revolutionize both of those aspects as far as real estate acquisition and disposition goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be phenomenal what happens over the next year or 2 years in many industries, but even real estate, I think, is in for some.
Oh, yeah. Bala, you are on with Shad. What's your question?
Shad, that was incredible presentation, Shad. I love it. I mean, you're in 10, 20 years from now, you're going to be the guru, like what I can say. Everything falls into all the stars are lined up from what I can tell. You will be like, what is that? The Facebook guru or the guy who, no, the guy like, where is this Amazon guy? He was somewhere, he was like 10 years, he was, now all of a sudden, boom, it took off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's going to be, the way it is. So I want to piggyback on the question the earlier lady asked about. I know this is the bigger picture. I mean, it's going to revolutionize the industry when you think about this way and then start working on it. But what about somebody like Little Fish, right? Somebody want to come in and succeed. They don't want to wait for that long. I mean, there's a way that they can begin benefit from your system, right? That may be what it resonated from that question to me, you know? If you
That's
can elaborate on that, that would be great.
that's who we're doing it for. So we are the small fish, right? I mean, uh, I have a vision, like it's my personal desire to try to help our industry and push people, all of us in here, and all the people that are struggling, you know, in the industry, with leveling the playing field by giving them the tools and the teams and the information, just everything that they need to be able to do deals. Because every one of us signed up for real estate investing. None of us signed up for like cold calling or how to go figure out how to pull a list and skip trace and do this, do that. None of us signed up for that. We all signed up for real estate investing. I want to be a real estate investor, right? And that's the vision, is how do we really streamline this so that we can get to our goal and not have to, you know, go through all these learning pains. Because the sad truth of the matter is most people end up quitting, or far too many people quit in our industry before they ever get to that promised land, before they ever get to being a real estate investor. And that's a shame, because there's so many ways. This is one of my favorite sayings about real estate. I learned this, and it's my belief. One of the most beautiful things about real estate investing is there's a million ways you can make money in this industry. One of the worst things about it, the curse of real estate, is there's a million ways you can make money in this industry. Because what happens is we get shiny object syndrome and we get pulled in different directions, and then we never really give it a fighting chance to become truly great at one thing. When if you just stick with it, you can become great at it, right? New investors come in, they're like, well, what should I do for marketing? Cold call? They do that for 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. This doesn't work. I quit. Texting. Oh, I saw this guy made 80 grand off of a text message. I'm gonna go do that. And then they quit that. They're like, oh, bandit signs that way, and then they go do that. And then PPC. Look, they all work if you work it, right? Every system works if you work the system. But without having that guidance, the knowledge, and being able to plug in to a team or to a system, it makes it infinitely harder. And that's what we're trying to do, is level that for as many people as possible.
Cool. Bala, did that answer your question? I think you stepped away for a second.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is just that you get started and just never quit, and just plug into the team, just like your team. And I enjoyed cold calling and whatnot. So I think whatever team you want to get in, just stay with it. And then eventually they'll get you to the success, you know. That's my message. That's the more I understood.
And you don't fail unless you quit. So give it a fighting chance, right? Give it a real go. But more importantly than that, I would connect, and Pace says this all the time. JJ's said it probably 20 times on this call. Connect with as many people as you can. Network. Your network is your net worth. Find people that are doing the business at a higher level.
Yeah.
And some of these people are busy, right? I mean, we're all busy. JJ's busy. I'm busy. So they might not get back to you immediately, but don't give up and keep going and finding those people that are doing what you would like to do, and get the advice and get the help, and then just don't give up and keep trying.
Follow-up is everything. As Shad's saying, if you're reaching out to people, if you have a question, if you're soliciting for a private money lender, or you're offering your funding, or you're looking for a deal, I mean, no matter what you do, you're just networking, you're reaching out to people. Follow-up is everything. It's literally half the game. Nicole Cooper, you are on with Shad the Master Blaster. What's your question?
What's up, Shad? You are doing some pretty badass stuff. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We haven't done anything yet. I mean, we're making a push.
You got a pretty website. You got a real pretty website. That spinny thing, I couldn't stop playing with it, you know? But no, I like that you kind of are trying to create that one-stop shop. It's pretty impressive. My question is, that caller was amazing. What company did you use, or what company was that from? That's question one.
Sure. So I'm in contact with the CTO and one of the founders of Air. They found out that we have just a tremendous amount of data that we're sitting on, call recording, scripts, you name it, and they're very interested. So we're forming, a partnership, and yeah, I'm basically I have a coffee date with them in Scottsdale on Friday, and yeah, I've been testing it out. We've been playing with it and teaching their model. They want us to help them teach the model for real estate, and yeah, hopefully we'll be rolling that out in the coming weeks here on our CRM.
That's awesome. And then how do you like mentioned training them? So like you can train them to do dispo, you can train them to do acquisitions.
Right.
How do you train an AI bot? And or like how does that work? How does that look like?
Basically through call recordings and through scripts. You can literally train it like you would an employee, right? So how would imagine if you just hired a human, right, employee to come and work for you, and they don't know anything about dispo, they don't know anything about acquisitions, they don't know anything about anything. So how would you train them, right? You'd probably put a script in front of them, be like, here's your script. These are your objectives. This is how we're going to define success. This is how we define failure, right? If you don't do X, Y, and Z, it wasn't successful. And then here's some calls that we can listen to. And then furthermore, like we do this every night. Diana and myself do this for our team every single night, where we take call recordings and then we calibrate them with our team members, and then we give them feedback. Like, hey, let's tweak this, let's edit that. Hey, try saying it this way, train it that way. So the difference being, I don't know how many hundreds of people I've trained now over the past 3 years. Diana is in here. She's actually from New York. You guys should connect.
She actually already touched base with me.
Oh, there you go. See, so yeah, basically the difference is when we hire currently humans and we train them, and then 2 weeks later, 2 months, 2 years later, they end up quitting or getting fired, or they're like, oh, whatever happens, we got to start from scratch with somebody new, right? And that is a huge pain point. With AI, every time we teach it, it doesn't forget and only gets smarter, more sophisticated, and the technology is just going to keep getting better and better, because there's more and more companies out there that are going down this path. So it's going to be really exciting. Yeah,
that's awesome. So you guys will be rolling out that particular, I guess, algorithm voice for the real estate bot for Air.
Yeah, the voice AI, we're going to roll that out in a couple of weeks. Depends on what happens on Friday, but yeah, I'm definitely looking. So we already have like Chat GPT and all that. There's several companies and people out there that have like Go High Level. They tied their Chat GPT into it. It's the same thing there. You tell the bot basically what its objectives are, how it should act and respond, and then you go in there and you just keep tweaking it until it gets it right. It's no different for this. This is basically just text to speech and then speech to text technology. Because this might be like to all of us humans, we're like, wow, this is phenomenal. All this is good old Stephen Hawking's technology from 20, 30 years ago. It just does a better job of synthesizing the voice, and it's only going to get better, and it's only going to get faster and more sophisticated, and then it's going to get harder and harder for us to distinguish what's the difference between a human and AI. If anybody in here hasn't geeked out on deep fake, if you don't know what deep fake is, go and Morgan Freeman deep fake, Tom Cruise deep fake. Go to Google, go to YouTube, and type that in and watch what that is, because that's the scary, in my opinion, that's the next thing, and that's going to be super scary, because when you have like President Biden standing there delivering a message and you're like, well, I saw him, I heard him, that's him, and we can't tell the difference. That's something that we're going to have to contend with, and that's already here as well. They're just making that even better and better.
Like a hologram?
Basically like a hologram, but it's like so they can take facial imagery, right, and then make it move. And then they can also I cloned my voice like 8 or 9 months ago, spot on. Like my mom, my wife, nobody can tell I can't tell the difference.
How do you do that on Air?
No, Air doesn't do it yet. At least I don't think so. There's a website called Play HT. There's a million of these out there now, and it's only going to get crazier, But Play HT is the one that I did it with. And yeah, you can clone your own voice. So the thing is, again, you got to train the model. So you got to keep feeding it like hours of content, and then it'll just pick up on your, on your voice. But that from 8 or 9 months ago, you used to have like over an hour of audio. Now you can do it within a couple of sentences of audio. That's how
Wow.
sophisticated the content's getting.
Cesar Garcia, you are on with Shad. What's your question?
Hi, Shad.
Hey, how you doing, Caesar? Nice to meet
I'm
you.
great. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
Good, good. Hey, you've got some great stuff you're putting out. JJ, thanks for bringing him on. Both you guys are fantastic. And anyway, Shad, I do multifamily and stuff like that. And I was just wondering, the aspect of what you're doing with the voice and cloning and doing calls. And I was just wondering, how do you see that playing out with, marketing it once you've got it up and running? Would it be something that could be purchased and you set it up for your own enterprise, or is it something that would have to go through a company and just you rent it out?
Yeah, basically what I'm working on right now with Air is us just licensing it and having it on our CRM, and then that would, because if you guys have been around enough investors, different investors want different scripts, right? They want their employees to open the call differently, ask different questions. They have different targets. There's a lot of different things. Not to mention that was like a cold call for lead generation. It could be the same for dispo. You could do it for realtors. You could do it for anything you could really imagine, and it's only going to get more sophisticated. So what I'm working on with them is tying that into what we already have with ChatGPT tied into our CRM, and then tying this also into our CRM so that we have a truly AI-powered CRM where you can have outbound calls being made. You can have your Facebook and PPC leads coming in and have the AI automatically respond and carry on a conversation there, schedule the appointment, like fully automate. It's my opinion that in a year from now, wholesaling and the real estate business could be 75, 85, percent. I don't know what the number would be, but it could be automated to a large degree. Like most of the tasks that we do that are repetitive can be trained for technology to carry it out. So
that's incredible.
That's my personal goal anyway, is like by the end of next year, we have systems in place where the data gets pulled automatically. So when foreclosures come about, that data comes in. I've been working on this the longest, Verified Skips, which is our skip tracing company. It'll automatically go skip trace it and verify the records. It can plug it in via API into the CRM. The bots call and text. They generate the lead, set the appointment, and then acquisitions does its thing. And then I showed you guys the underwriting and comping AI that we're working on. That data could via API can get sent over as well. We have the report. So, it's not hard to imagine that 80%, 90% of this business could be automated, and we're doing a lot of deal review and finishing the deal with the seller, either in person or over the phone and with DocuSign.
That's my incredible. It just seems like a complete staff that you're hiring through an AI staff, and you're pretty much like you said, not having to deal with training. Doing all that, you do one training with one bot, and that's your employee forever, and just make adjustments on it, right?
Yeah, and it's going to get smarter, better, faster, and cheaper.
Exactly.
Like, literally, that's the path of technology. Look at big screen TVs, look at computers, look at the technology always gets faster, better, and cheaper over time.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I geek out on it. I love it. So,
Cesar, thank you so much for your question.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Chris Drum, you are on with Shad. What's your question?
Hey guys, thanks so much. Appreciate the time, Shad. I'm coming from the IT realm. It's really interesting because I used to prospect as well for a different reason. Not for me. So this is I used to make other people rich doing that. So it's really kind of an interesting perspective. But the AI call that you shared, Was I suppose, just assuming, would you have dispositioned that as a maybe, or as a hot lead because you got an answer of yes, I'm willing to sell the house?
Well, first of all, like we didn't get to like motivation, so the bots and the system has to be trained a lot more on really of the four pillars. There's all the nuances that we teach our VAs and teach people, within sub two and all that. Not all the four pillars are built equally. Motivation's by far the most important one because price can change, timelines can change, but the motivation is key. So we're working on really hammering that into the system. We would mark that as a hot lead if there was a high level of motivation. And one thing that I've learned in the 3 years I've been doing this in our call center is the cold calls job is just to generate the lead. Lead manager's job is to dig for pain versus gain and sit on it and really find out what's the plan. And if anybody's read Spin Selling by Neil Rackham, really going through the situation, the problem, the impact, the needs payout, go through all that. And it's my belief that once this technology that I just played for you guys really starts to ramp up, we're not too far off from 6, 12, 18 months from now having lead managers being automated and being able to have those deeper conversations with AI. And then at that point, basically you have a sales team, that because they're able to go and provide the solutions when more technology gets layered onto it. I'm very confident that this business can be 90% automated at some point in the future. It could be a year from now, it could be 2 years from now, but I'm very confident it will happen. And part of it, we're making a big push to push that forward because those repetitive tasks that we have to keep doing, that AI that we just listened to, if I cussed it out and hung up on it and called it names, it won't phase it. It's going to make the next call as if it never happened. Right. But a human, like we can only take so much verbal punishment before we're like, man, I'm just like, I hate this job. This is horrible. I don't want to do is this really worth, what I'm doing with my life? Right. My personal belief, and this is just my business model and what I am. We want to basically put this on our CRM and make that accessible to you guys. We just rolled out our CRM. I'm happy to talk offline with you guys and show you that. But we don't want to hold anything to ourselves and be like, oh, we invented this and we're gonna, just like hoard it for ourselves. This technology is coming, and I just want to help everybody in this room, everybody in sub 2, and everybody in our industry be ahead of the curve. Because the real enemies aren't us working against each other. We should all be doing deals together, right? BlackRock and these mega hedge funds, those are the guys that have these technologies. They already have quants and they have all these brainiacs and all these people that get paid all this money. They're already doing a lot of this stuff, right? We're at a disadvantage against them, but strength in numbers. So if you guys see my backdrop here, penny skips, we, in the process of creating our AI for, and that's what led me down this entire path, was verified skips. What I realized was I learned a lot about data and skip tracing. And that whole company, I set it up to democratize data in skip tracing, where we have 2-cent skip tracing, because I'm looking at all these other companies. I'm like, man, they're making a lot of money and their data isn't like blow me away phenomenal. There's still wrong numbers in there. Why is it costing me an arm and a leg to do this? So I democratized that. We're looking to democratize the AI side of it. We want to democratize the underwriting part of it. Dispo. I'm working on a few other things. I talked to JJ about it. We had a great conversation offline leading up to this interview of revolutionizing how we can all find each other, because Facebook just wasn't built for us as real estate investors finding and networking with one another. Fundamentally wasn't built for that. So me and my developers are building something right now. We'll roll it out and then we'll show it to you guys, where you can create your own profile. You can find each other, different parts of the country, what you specialize in. Are you acquisitions, dispo, integrator? Are you a private money lender? Are you, what deals do you, all this stuff? You can have your own thing. We want to democratize that in an effort so that we can all do deals together more efficiently and effectively and have less people quit the industry unnecessarily.
Fantastic. Thanks, Shad. Appreciate it.
Shad, that was great, brother. What you're working on is phenomenal because for the most part, no, everyone's tinkering with AI, but no one's, I think, doing what you're doing. And if they are, all the other things you've done still puts you at the forefront of what's happening there. And I think there's only great things in front of you. We got two more questions before we bow out. One, if people want to connect with you, I see you've got your name and number in your website. Is that the preferable way for them to get a hold of you? Would be through that phone number and that website?
Shoot me a text. I'm pretty good about responding if I'm on a Zoom or I'm teaching or I'm in a meeting or something like that. But I will get back to you guys. And then JV with Shad, I just wanted to have like my link farm of all the different services or different things plus a Calendly, and you guys can definitely set up. I want to meet as many people. I want to give back and help, just like JJ does, just like Pace Morby does. As I learn, I want to be an open book and an open resource for as many people as possible. So,
and if you guys are going to reach out to Shad, make sure if you're going to call him, text him first. When you text him, tell him your name, how you came to see him. You saw him on YouTube. You were on the call. Somebody referred his name. But always let the individual you're reaching out to give them a heads up about who you are and what your connection is. Last question. My group's a networking group, and I talk all the time about networking and to the point where I become a talking head. But in your experience as a entrepreneur from multiple industries, as a real estate investor, as an integrator who's a leader in your field, we see people coming in from all kinds of platforms. There's a multiple education platforms. We see all kinds of people coming in who are new investors, seasoned investors, but they're new to the real estate education platform. And they're now joining Facebook as each education platform wants all their students to join their Facebook groups and Facebook community. For these investors that are getting into Facebook new, whether they're new investors or seasoned investors, what is the importance not only of networking, but possibly of joining a group like mine to the success of their business?
That's a great question. I don't think that we would be where we are, and not. I don't think. I know for a fact, like Nancy and myself wouldn't be where we are if we hadn't networked and had the luxury of meeting and finding somebody like Pace, which led us to you, which has led us to so many other opportunities. Because we've done, countless deals. I literally don't know how many deals we've done to this point in the 3 years we've been doing this. And none of them, we haven't done any of them without a JV partner or somebody else. Like we've worked with somebody else. And Pace says this all the time. You can't do a deal by yourself. Like, you can't be the buyer and the seller. You need at least two people to do a deal, right? And the thing I love about you, JJ, and what I look up to you about is, and Pace mentioned this at our mastermind, you're the most consistent guy when it comes to marketing, branding, and networking. And it's true. Like I look up to you in that. I know I can learn so much from you in that regard, and that's why I reached out to you ever since we met, and we've had a great relationship. And I want to deepen that bond because I can learn so much from you, and hopefully find ways to pay back and pay it forward to you as well in return.
That means so much coming from yourself. I always talk about all the time for those that are listening on the call or listening on YouTube. Don't chase the deal, chase the relationship. Look at the individual you're working with, not their pocketbook. There are people out there that are wealthy and successful that I will not do business with because, in my opinion, they're not good people. We look at who we're surrounding ourselves with, and the quality, the integrity, the character of the people we surround ourselves with will dictate what kind of person we're going to become. Not just because that people around us are financially, successful. Shad, I really want to thank you for being on today. We'll continue to catch up. You and me next season, Cowboys game. So I'm going to come into the SoFi. We're going to a game.
Absolutely, brother.
That's one of my favorite things to do is take my real estate investor friends to sporting events if they're in Los Angeles. If you guys are watching right now on YouTube, please like Shad's video. Please put some notes in the comments about what your takeaways were. If you guys are on the call right now, please, when this video comes up, please like it. Please, that really helps what we're doing. Please look at some of the older videos, like those videos, support my YouTube channel. Again, if you guys want to get a hold of Shad, his phone number is on the screen. His website's jvwithshad.com. If you want to get into my networking group, you want to be a part of what we're doing, let me help you build your brand, build your network, build your visibility. Go to jjazesian.com, click the register now button, join my group. But everybody on the call today, thank you. Thank you for being here. Everybody watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. And Shad, thank you, my friend. I want to say you're the son I never had, because I'm only about 70 years older than you. But
no, you're not old enough to be my dad, bro. You're like my brother.
There you go.
Yeah,
So for all of you guys watching, please look for more coming up from my Shad and myself. And Shad, I guess we'll see them on another episode down the line, right?
Absolutely. I'd love to hop back on and give you guys updates and connect with as many people as possible.
We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for joining us.